This is like the new Wi-Fi. Today, whoever doesn't offer free Wi-Fi will not see any tenant or any visitor visiting those places. Same is happening with the charging station. At some point, we will reach a critical mass that even if you are not jumping into that wagon, even if you are not offering that service, you will see a shift of your tenants, your visitors, your residents going elsewhere.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to life. Welcome to Innovation City.
Welcome to Innovation City, a podcast featuring the innovators, disruptors, and creators who are making things happen today. My name is Michael T. Johnson. I'm here with my co-host Tyler Kelly, and we are at Venture Cafe Miami tonight. So Venture Cafe is the #1 gathering of innovators on Thursday night in the entire world. So we're very excited because we have Alejandro Burgana with us today.
Thank you for having me. Great pronunciation.
So let me tell you a little bit about Alejandro. He's an entrepreneur who's dedicated to building the commercial charging infrastructure right here in South Florida. And he's doing that through aFLoat programs, which are designed with the dual purpose of generating an attractive ROI in the place for the buildings and the locations where they're placed.
That's right.
And you're the founder of OBE Power Networks.
As well, yes.
As well as Brickell Energy,
mm-hmm.
which is located right here in the CIC building.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And you hold an MBA from NYU's Leonard N. Stern School of Business with majors in finance and international business. And you're doing a lot of amazing things, but you are helping South Florida, which is quickly becoming very conscious about electric vehicles.
It is happening finally.
It's the
yes.
fourth largest state for that.
Well, actually, yeah, when it comes to all the states and the markets for electric vehicles, we have that Florida is the fourth largest state when it comes to a number of electric vehicles around. But however, there is also a little bit of a distortion on this market. We in our industry we track what we call the port attachment rate, which is the number of commercial charging stations over the base of electric vehicles in that particular area. When it comes to port attachment, we are number 18 in the country. Wow. Meaning that there are a lot of electric vehicles out there, but they don't find enough places to charge. So there is a huge opportunity for us, and that's one of the reasons why we decided to initiate our program here, because the demand is out there. There is a lot of electric vehicles in the market that they are looking for more charging spots. And that's where we are coming to bring that solution to the market.
That's neat. I see that you're a car guy.
I am, totally, yes.
I like nice cars, but this guy here is a car fanatic.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a car guy. So I was curious as we started reading and learning about you as a child being kind of into cars. Did you have the poster of your dream car on the wall, or what was it?
All of that. Ever since I was a little kid, I have perhaps one of the largest collection of Matchbox and Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
When I was 3 to 4 to 5 years old, and that turns then into RC vehicles. Yeah. Then following and reading every magazine or car book that was around. Even at a very early age, I was already well aware of all the internal mechanics of the internal combustion engine, and I was talking about the 4-stroke engines and explaining what was happening inside the motors, and people were very impressed how determined I was when it comes to cars and vehicles. Even I remember that when I think it was 10 to 11 years old, that I told my dad, "Dad, I know what I want to be when I grow up. I want to build cars in Venezuela." That's where I was born and grew up in Venezuela. I was raised there. And I was like, wow, are you sure you want to do that? And he was perhaps thinking that I was, like a daydream, that the next day I would like to be a firefighter or a police officer or something. No, I was very determined. That's what I wanted to do, and I kept with that. I didn't build any cars, but I kept following that path, and that perhaps led to my first career in mechanical engineering. So, yes.
I'm curious, as you were growing up, what was the hot car in Venezuela that you were really into?
Well, at the beginning, I was into sport and fast cars, and then I turned into all-wheel drives.
Yes.
So at that, the best option at that point was either to get a Jeep or a Toyota Land Cruiser. I was between these two, and I decided to take the Toyota Land Cruiser, and it was the perfect choice, to explore the mountains and go to certain beaches that you can only get if you have a 4-wheel drive vehicle. So it was a perfect time to do so. And I had a lot of fun and best memories also from that experience as well.
Wow.
So I remember as a kid, when I was a kid, there were like kind of all the classic cars and American muscle cars and all those things that I was into as a kid. But there was one thing that stood out, and it was when the original Tesla Roadster came out.
That's
and
right.
I remember seeing this poster of it, and it kind of fit in with like, the Ferrari, the Lamborghini. Then there's the Tesla Roadster, which was completely different. And that kind of, it's surprising how far that's taken us into today, where.
Would you believe that? It's only less than 10 years since the vehicle came to the market. I remember reading about that, and I paid the reservation fee.
Yeah.
And then I was crazy about getting that vehicle and being one of the first person in Florida to get that one. Then I went to one of the dealers and saw it, like the real vehicle, and I found like it was perhaps too small for me. So I canceled that, and Tesla did a great job. Like within like a few days, they returned that reservation fee. I'm very happy they did. And but I was committed to get an electric car, so when the Nissan Leaf was around, more into my budget and my possibilities, I had the second Nissan Leaf that was available here in Miami. So it was a total piece of conversation. I was getting plenty of thumb ups along the highway, and people were asking me all sort of crazy questions like, roll down the window. Is that a solar car? Well, no, it's not a solar car, it's an electric car. How cool, excellent. And where do you pump the gasoline? Well, no, it is an electric. You plug it in. It's like, right now people, like, they're used to that everywhere you go. And it is, I've been driving electric ever since.
Well, and as you're saying, it is pretty amazing that like in just that short time, electric vehicles have almost become mainstream. I would say they're pretty mainstream.
We are about to get to that particular number that will bring us from early adopters to going to the mainstream market, and that is happening due to the combination of three major factors. The first one is the advances in battery technology. To get an electric car that will give you like over 200 miles of range per charge, it will cost you over in excess of $80,000 only 5 years ago. And that's one of the reasons why some people still believe that getting an electric car is ultra expensive. It is not today. You can get that same vehicle at about $35,000. A vehicle that will be the case of a Chevy Volt or the Tesla Model 3 that has over 400,000 reservations. So yeah, today one of the major factors that electric vehicles are going into the mainstream market is the decrease in price due to advances in battery technology. Of course, all the environmental reasons. You have countries like Norway that is about to ban the sales of internal combustion engine or gasoline-powered vehicles in 2025. 5 years later, you have Germany, India, China going to ban the sales of gasoline-powered vehicles. UK, France, and even the state of California is proposing a bill to do the same by 2040. So battery technology, all the environmental concerns with all the the pollution and the greenhouse gases and the global warming caused by that, and finally the third reason is the new business models, which is where we are trying to create a new business model and a new industry out of the offering charging as a service to all the people who drive electric, and we do that particularly where people live, where people work, and where people play, which is where 80% of the market activity happens.
So we were talking a little bit off the air prior to the show about your aFLoat program.
Yes.
And that's essentially where you go in and you place a couple, 2 or 3 spots in a desirable location in a parking lot that may or may not be easy to find a space in.
That is correct.
Right?
That's one of the key points of the success of the program.
And so tell me about how you make that offer, that pitch to property developers and owners and things like that.
Well, it was through trial and error, a lot of learning of the mentality and the real needs of property owners, managers, and homeowners associations. When we decided to let's build a charging infrastructure and let's promote EV driving by selling charging stations, we were trying to make a sale by educating the marketplace. And we found that, every meeting that we were participating, people was enthusiastically welcoming all the learning, all the knowledge, and all the education, but they were not ready to buy. The reason why is when you take into consideration the total project cost, which is not only the charging station, but the network service, the warranty, the permit, the engineering, bringing all the electrical conduit from the electrical room underground to the designated parking spaces. You're looking at over $20,000 project for a couple of parking spaces. So the typical reaction, the typical response was, well, that's very interesting, and I'm pretty sure that that's where the future is heading us when it comes to vehicles and transportation. We will do it sometime in the future. That was a typical reaction, because they say, well, we have higher priorities. Like, we need to, we were competing with repairing or repainting the property, the building, the landscape after the Hurricane Irma. Or we were competing with, getting new chillers, or doing all sort of priorities or items that were up on the priority list for these properties. They had no budget, and if they had to raise, to create a special assessment for the charging station, those who don't drive electric will say, well, why do I need to pay for that? I am not interested. Why are we going to share the cost for the benefit of only 2 or 3 people who drive electric? So it was by learning all of these reactions and responses and understanding the market that we decided, well, maybe we need to take a different approach. So we went back to the drawing board and met with our partners and a group of like-minded individuals, say, how can we make it happen? And that's where we came to the idea, say, well, let's offer charging as a service. Let's create a program where we will lower the capital barriers, or the cost barrier for them, the upfront cost. We will offer that service, and we will bring that amenity at no cost. So we will bring the charging station, the network service, the warranty, and we even offer a credit towards the electrical installation. So we are making it extremely easy, under budget, under pockets, and that allows the properties to offer the charging amenity at no cost to them. Then the next concern was, well, but what's going to happen with the electricity? Are we going to see an increase in our electric bill? Do we need to pay or to share the cost of the electricity? I say, well, you are right. I mean, you don't have to share that, because same way nobody's paying for your fuel, you don't have to pay for other people's electricity. So we decided to reformulate our program to reimburse those properties for 100% of the electricity cost. So now they see 0 upfront cost, 0 operational cost, and then finally, to make even more attractive to them, we shared our revenue in the form of a bonus for a carbon credit income. So every time they accumulate a metric ton of greenhouse gases, they receive a bonus. So that encourages utilization. So every time they pass by, they walk by, and the people charging, they are like, yes. I mean, that goes towards that bonus, that they know they are doing good, and they are making green by being green or by acting green. So that's part of the perhaps the best secret of that program. So what we are doing with the aFLoat charging program is lowering the barrier and making it very easy for all of these residents and people at the workplace or any of these condominiums to drive electric, because we are bringing the charging amenity exactly where they live. Same way you get home and you charge, you connect your cell phone for charging, and you do it overnight. Same happens with your vehicle. You, after a whole day of driving, you get back home, you plug it in, and next morning when you wake up, that vehicle is fully charged, ready for you to continue with your day.
And this is a perfect market for it, I think, because like you said, I think the reason why it's 18th, or it was at one point, or it is still, in terms of charging stations, is because most people that live here in the city especially, they don't have the luxury of hooking up their own, putting in their own system, whether they're in condo buildings or things like that. So I think that's probably, the homeowners association is a big opportunity for you.
Yeah, and there is a new law here that it was signed by Governor Scott, that what the law says is that no association can prohibit an EV driver from installing their own charging station in their own parking space on any association or any condominium. However, there are certain limitations. That person must comply with all the architectural regulations of that particular building, comply with all the rules, use the services of a certified electrical contractor to pay for additional insurance. So it is possible. However, it is very costly on the side of that person. So what we do in those cases is, and there is also a bigger dilemma with that law, is that if the property allows an EV driver to go through this route, that person will be connecting their own private charger to a community electric panel. So that person will be using a portion of that community panel for their own private use. So that may work perhaps for the first driver. The second person what happened after the fifth, the number 10th driver tries to do the same? They open that panel and say, well, there is no more capacity for anyone here, I'm sorry. And the person will say, well, but if you allow them to do it, I would like to have the same right. So for that reason, we encourage these properties to offer community charging. So we hooked our units to the community panel for the benefit of all those who drive electric within that particular building or property. And that solution works beautifully. And each one of these dual port chargers is capable of charging up to 16 vehicles per day. So if you combine the technology, which is a smart technology, by the way, they are connected to the cloud and they give you real-time reports on who's using it and the charging status of each one of the vehicles. They send you text messages when the vehicle is fully charged. So if you combine that with the services of valet parking, and most of these luxury condominiums, they offer valet parking 24/7, then they will also get a notification on their smartphone saying that particular vehicle is fully charged, so it's time for you to move it and to rotate the cars. So that encourages, like with one dual port unit or a couple of dual port units, you can service many residents within the same property.
Now, you said once a person's charged, they get a notification. Do they incur like a fee if they don't move their car, or they're not courteous, or those kind of things?
That is a great question. Actually, at the beginning, we don't enforce that. We don't do that. However, the system allows us to set that fee. What happens is that when your vehicle is fully charged, you get up to 3 to 4 notifications every 10 to 15 minutes, alerting you that your vehicle is charged and there are more people waiting. So that reminds you that if you are a nice neighbor or tenant or owner or resident on that particular property, it's time for you to move your vehicle and let others use it. If you don't, and if we have more vehicles than charging ports, then at that point we activate that fee per time. We call it the idle fee. So yes, it will be a little bit more expensive, that like a few dollars per hour, like you're paying like a parking, like $4 an hour, something like that. That will motivate people to behave correctly and to move those vehicles and make those spaces available for others to use it.
So you're talking about like people lining up for charging stations. I'm curious to like what we saw in the 70s in the United States was that there was a gas shortage and people were lining up at gas stations. Is there a point where we reach kind of this critical mass of electric vehicles where if we don't keep up with the demand, we're going to have a shortage of just places for people to charge their vehicles?
Well, the charging infrastructure is growing very fast.
Yeah.
And we and other companies like us are also trying to work and to grow as fast as the market for electric vehicles, which, by the way, is growing at 30 to 40% a year over year. If you see on this graph here, you can clearly see that it took 7 years to sell the first million of electric cars here in the U.S. But at this rate of growth, it will take only 2 more years to sell the second million of electric cars. So we are closely getting to that point when we'll see that hockey stick effect. Once the market penetration in new vehicle sales is about 4 or 5%, we will see that number jumping and seeing that hockey stick effect and getting a very mass adoption, because within the next 3 to 4 years, you will see plenty of electric vehicles. Actually, there are more than 40 options today to choose from. And you will see that there are electric vehicles, not only from the typical suspects like Tesla and Chevy Bolt and Nissan Leaf and BMW i3, but there are more than 30 or 35 options today to choose from. And every car manufacturer, you name it, all the all the Asians or all the Japanese or Chinese or Koreans vehicles are coming into electric. All the European brands, as well as most American brands, are coming to electrify their own lineup of electric. Ford have pledged to offer more than 40 electrified vehicles by 2022, and GM more than 23 by 2023. And same is happening with Jaguar, Land Rover, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, all of them. They are bringing electric cars. So it will be the option that will make the most sense to every single buyer of a car, will be the option to get an electric one. Why? Because it will be cheaper to own, to purchase, and cheaper to operate.
Yeah.
And it provides also a better driving experience. So since you are a car guy, I know that you appreciate the high torque vehicles. Well, have you heard of the instant torque that in any electric vehicle? Have you seen the acceleration and the power from the first RPM? Well,
yeah, I think we've both test drove a couple Teslas, and
okay.
The experience is pretty. The experience is, it's different than a normal car, but it's better.
I agree.
off-the-line
It's a better
acceleration.
driving experience, and it doesn't require any maintenance at all. So forget about oil changes and filters and spark plugs and belts. I mean, that's a thing of the past. I mean, all the software upgrades that happen over the air, you don't even notice when that happens. So perhaps the only part of maintenance that will be required will be, to rotate the tires, brake pads, and that's it, pretty much.
Wow.
So it's so simple and easy to operate and to maintain.
You showed that chart where it's like that's almost like a disruption chart where at some point, and we may have already hit it, or maybe we have in a way, it's just going to accelerate exponentially to where there's no turning back. We may have already hit that, and maybe you're seeing
Not yet, but we're getting very close to that
getting
point.
very close. So what happens to all the gas stations around town and across the country when that happens?
Hopefully they will disappear, and we will recover that space and beautify our cities. And we'll no longer offer that gas stations. Some of them will turn into, perhaps a DC fast charging. Some of them will kind of evolve and offer a mixture of gasoline and DC fast charging options for electric vehicles. However, the behavior of and the way you charge an electric vehicle is different. I mean, you don't go to a depot kind of a place and spend 5-10 minutes sitting or waiting there for your vehicle to get fully charged or fuel. What happens is that the reality is that vehicles in general, they spend 85 to 90% of their time parked, sitting, just waiting for you to use them. So that's the perfect time when you fuel them, when you connect them. And by the time you are ready to use them, they are fully charged waiting for you. So it's a kind of a different mentality. You go straight from point A to point B. You don't need to cut your trip to stop at the gas or the fueling station. And at the point B, you will find another charging station to, continue charging while you are parked there for over an hour. And then you keep going and going and going. And hopefully, when we continue spreading out our network of charging stations, you will find places to connect and to charge everywhere you go.
I like that. I mean, it's going to be a shift, a more convenient, user-centric approach to it's just making it part of your everyday life.
Correct.
The question that I have for you, so you're giving away the installation, the equipment,
A limited portion of the installation.
Okay.
We offer a credit up to a few $1,000
Okay.
that will cover like 75% of all the installation jobs. Certain locations, due to higher distance or a need to expand the electrical capacity, they require a deeper and more expensive electrical installation work. In those cases, the residents pays for the difference over our credit allowance for each one of these projects.
And the revenue share, and from what I hear, it's relatively inexpensive for the end user.
Yes.
So the question that any investor is going to ask you is, where are you making your money? Are there state or federal credits? I mean, where's the money coming from?
Great question. Well, we are lucky to say that we have a very conservative targets when it comes to profitability and revenue growth, and we are meeting our targets. I mean, we set very down-to-earth expectations about how much is going to be the usage for each one of our units, and we are on track. We are also getting a combination of revenue sources. It's not only the charging revenue, also the idle fee revenue, also branding and advertising revenue. That's a good portion of our revenue. So playing with all of these variables and making a good combination of them is what will allow us to meet our profitability targets and to meet the expectations of our investors as well. And now that you mentioned about our investors, it is also important to find a special and very particular group of impact investors that are willing to make a change, willing to partner with your idea, with your vision, because it doesn't cut the needs for a typical investor who are looking at short return, a low risk, and in a short period of time. This is a long-term investment, and only those investors who have this long-term mentality and understand the impact and the benefit and on all the related benefits that you get from this initiative and this movement and this business are those who qualify and match your criteria for participating in this project and this business.
I'm curious, is there a race going on, or are you the only one out there doing this, or is there a race?
Oh, there are many other companies. There are many other players. Okay. And we are trying to learn as much from our experience as from also the experience from others. There are others who have tried this before without much success, and there are others who are doing fine in other states. So we're trying to pick their brains. We are trying to cooperate. We are not hiding anything like a very well-kept secret, and we are openly having these conversations with you and everybody, because what we need at this point is to spread the message, to spread the word, to make our service and our aFLoat programs accessible to all of these condominiums, not only in Florida, but also out of state, and to workplaces and developers, because this is a right way for them to implement the charging solution, and also for the benefits of their projects, their properties, which is, you know what this is like the new Wi-Fi. Few years ago, many years ago, I will say, some properties, hotels, restaurants, they were offering like free Wi-Fi as a way for them to differentiate and to attract, traffic and people and visitors. Today, whoever doesn't offer free Wi-Fi, will not see any tenant or any visitor or any person visiting those places. Same is happening with the charging station. At some point, we will reach a critical mass that even if you are not jumping into that wagon, even if you are not offering that service, you will see a shift of your tenants, your visitors, your residents going elsewhere to other locations that, yes, they are willing to offer that service. So it is important to understand that even elevates the value of the property, because you are adding services that are in high demand right now.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious along, like, what are the challenges to you moving forward? So is it just that people's behavior, they don't quite, like, for instance, a business, is it just that they don't quite understand how different people's behavior are going to be?
Well, as far as the challenges, it is important to time the market, to understand where to invest, how much to invest, because as you mentioned at the beginning, we depend on the usage rate, and we also depend on marketing revenue. So we need to be in places where we anticipate that we will see high demand and high usage rate. So we cannot get too crazy about installing too many charging stations in one particular place, or going into places where it's a low concentration of electric vehicles on that particular zip code. So we try to gather and pull as much information as we can about the concentration or the density of electric vehicles on that particular zip code, and see the income of these particular properties, how new they are, how the profile of the people who either lives or works on those properties. And based on all of these factors, we say, yes, this is a place where we should install and invest on charging stations. So we go there and plant our flag and offer that service there. And then we need to kind of decide whether we install 1, 2, 3 charging stations per location. But we are, some of our customers, and I can name workplaces like Carnival Cruise Line, they are using our service. Same with Royal Caribbean in the Port of Miami. And we see how happy are not only the corporation, because that goes in line with their corporate sustainability programs, but also every single one of their employees who drive electric. They feel like they are getting the right service at the right price, and they are using they continue to use our stations on a regular basis, and they are saving so much money in their daily commute, and they can rely on us because we offer a good service at the right price. And same happens with many of these condominiums that you can see out of from this window. They are right now using our services, and it is and they are spreading the word and talking to other communities and say, well, we have tried this, it works well for us, so why don't you try yourself? So it takes little by little to build that initial base of customers from any one of the fields or industries and verticals, and from that we try to grow from there to municipalities, to universities, to hospitality, keeping ourselves very busy doing that, not on a smart way, without making many mistakes.
Yeah.
Or costly mistakes, I will say.
Well, I'll tell you what, Alejandro, I love this idea. I
Tell me.
think that it benefits the community, it benefits the environment. And so if you're a residential developer or manager or corporate, probably need to get in touch with Alejandro. So how can people get in touch with you?
Well, you can go to our website, which is www.brickellenergy.com. You can also visit us on Facebook. It's Facebook/Brickell Energy. My own LinkedIn page is Alejandro Burgana, or Twitter, aBurgana. And if you want to call me directly, feel free to do so. 305-546-5407. I will personally take your call and talk to you about the program and explain and answer every question that you may have. We also, the team, we have a small, very dedicated and committed team to this mission. We work regular office hours here, and then trying to put together proposals and solutions and to present these to many more clients. And after we leave the office, we go to these board association meetings to present, to do a presentation in front of them and answer all their questions and their concerns. And so this is a full-time job. This is a full-time commitment. It takes a lot of effort from our part, and every opportunity that we have to spread the message and to tell and to talk to people about our solution, we appreciate it. So we are extremely thankful to you two for letting us participate on this interview and this conversation.
Yeah, well, Alejandro, thank you for being with us today.
It is a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
For more episodes, visit innovationcity.co. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. And if you're in Miami, visit us on Thursday nights. Details are at venturecafemiami.org. And be sure to connect with us on social at WeAreSlam and at Venture Cafe MIA. Thanks for listening.
This is where it all begins, so